my seniors last year constantly making this mistake and getting really upset when I gave them no credit. So you have to find P of A, and then you have to separately find P of A times P of B. If you get two equal values, then you can claim that these two things are equal. Okay, but you can't set them equal right off the bat. Okay. Does that make sense? What questions do you guys have? Okay, so in these two examples, we have the two different ways that independent events are used. So in the very first example, it tells us that events A and B are independent. Okay, so this is an example of us knowing that two events are independent. In the second example, it asks us to check, okay, if they're independent. Okay, it asks, are Q and R independent? Okay, so we'll go through each way. So in example 1, it says events A and B are independent. So we know that the two values are already equal. And then it asks us to find P of B. Okay, so our goal is to fill in the equation given, the P of A intersect B equals P of A times P of B. We know that this equation is already true because it tells us that they are independent. Okay, so we can write it out right now. We want to fill this in as much as possible. We have the intersection right here. We have P of A prime, and we're trying to find P of B. Okay, so P of A prime plus P of A, which is what we want, has to equal 1. Okay, so if I have, and this is because, so I'm kind of mixing up the order of writing. That's okay. If I have A here, and A, I'm sorry, then A prime is everything outside of that rectangle. Okay, so A prime was 0.3. That means that the rest of the circle here must be 0.7. Okay, because 0.3 plus 0.7 gives us 1. So this means that P of A must be equal to 0.7. Okay, so then when I fill in my equation over here, I should have 0.42 is equal to 0.7 plus P of B. I'm sorry, not plus. Times. Okay, so now I want to divide both sides by 0.7 so that I can solve for P of B. So my P of B should be equal 0.42 divided by 0.47 should give me 0.6. So I find my P of B as 0.6. What questions do you guys have about that? Any questions on example 1? Okay, if not, well, if you do, feel free to jump in and say, hey, Miss Roberts, I have a question. But until then, we'll move on to number 2. So in number 2, it says events Q and R are such that P of Q is 1/2, P of R is 1/3, and the union is 11/12. Okay. R, Q, and R independent, justify your answer. So the first thing we need to do, if we want to figure out if they're independent, we have to find the intersection and we have to find the product. Okay, so we're taking the intersection, P of Q intersect R, And we're going to figure out what that is. And we're taking P of Q, multiplying it by P of R, and we're going to figure out what that is. And we're asking the question, are they equal? Okay, so do you guys see how I wrote them separately? I'm going to figure out what this is separately from this. And then I will ascertain if they are equal or not. Okay. So in order to figure out if they're equal, I have to calculate them. Okay. So to find the intersection, because I'm not given it, I'm given the union. I need to use my information about combined events. So I'm going to use my formula, P of Q union R equals P of Q plus P of R. I'm running out of room. Oh my goodness. I guess I'll move this line over. Minus the intersection, P of Q intersect R. And we're trying to solve for this piece right here. This is so bad. Hold on. I'm just going to rewrite it because you guys probably need a minute to copy stuff down, and I would like this to be a little bit more neat than it is. We have P of Q union R equals P of Q plus P of R minus the intersection of Q and R. Okay, it's a little better. Now I know the union was 11 over 12. I know that my Q was 1/2. I know that my R was 1/3. And I'm trying to find my intersection. Okay. I need a common denominator. The least common denominator here is going to be 12. So I'm going to have 6 over 12 and 4 over 12. Okay. And then 6 plus 4 is 10. When I subtract that from 11, I'm going to get 1/12 equals negative P of Q intersect R, which tells me that P of Q intersect R is going to be negative 1/12. Okay, so I should get negative 1/12 up here. If they are independent events, I should get that the product over here is also negative 1/12. Okay, so now I'm going to calculate the product separately. So my product of P of Q and P of R should be equal to 1/2 times 1/3. When I multiply 1/2 and 1/3, I should get 1/6. Okay, so I got that P of Q times P of R was 1/6, and I got the intersection was negative 1/12. So the answer should be no, R and Q are not independent. Okay, what questions do you have about that one? Okay, well, if there are no questions, I am done. You guys are free to go. Your asynchronous assignments for today are centers, and I'm not giving you any homework. The homework is just to finish the centers. Okay, so you guys have, oops, sorry. You guys have centers in activity 2 to complete. You can work on them for your the rest of your asynchronous time, and then for what's it called, homework after that if you don't finish. And then what else? We're going to be reviewing for your test on probability on Thursday. I'm going to do the same sort of thing where I post the review. And once you submit the review, you can look at the solutions. And then when you're ready to take the test, it'll be up there for you. But I'll probably give you a really big window to do your test so that if you want, you can go ahead and do it by next Tuesday, or if you want to wait a little while, you can wait a little while. What questions do you guys have?
When is the centers due?
I think that I put the due date as Thursday. But the actual deadline for them to be turned in is probably midnight next Monday. And to be honest, the due date is what I should be using, and then I should be taking 5% off until the assignment is closed, but I don't even have the willingness to do that because it's just too much work. So as long as you turn it in before the assignment closes, I don't care. So if you need to take till next Monday at midnight, so be it. I'm not going to take off points. All right. Does that feel like, Kate, were you feeling like that was too many things?
I think it'll be fine.
Okay. We need to look at, when is your next IA deadline? In the last 2 minutes, let me look at where did I post your IA? I think I posted the original document in here. IA scoring. IA intro is probably where it is. I also could go somewhere else and look for it if I can't find it. Okay, so there should be a little thing on here. I think it's this one, the IA intro document for 2020. And it should have all of our dates on it. I know that we shifted the mathematical analysis due date because you guys had a lot going on. So we should probably shift, let's see when it is. So I have a rough draft due on the 13th of October and peer review conferences. I have not finished grading your mathematical analysis or done progress conferences with you. So let's see. And then, okay, so in November, a month from this, you're supposed to have your first polished draft due. Let's push this. Let me see what the date is. So October 13th is next week sometime. Yeah. And I feel like also having a rough draft due around the same time as your test is kind of a lot. So how do you guys feel about pushing that date to the 20th? So 2 weeks from now, we should have completed a mathematical analysis. You should have your analysis back and graded. And then we will have progress conferences. I feel like I remember there being a lot of people that haven't even turned in a mathematical analysis. If that's the case, please message me so that I can open up the assignment for you, because I just really need you to turn this in. Even if it's late, I might take a couple points off, but I really need you to turn it in so that you're completing the steps for your IA. And then we're changing this date right here to the 13th. So what questions do you guys have about that before you head out?